I'm just back from Mystic, Connecticut from the Wooden Boat Show last weekend. It was fantastic. There was so many beautiful wooden boats. I learned some new things about boat building, made some really great new friends and connections, and also got reconnected with some old friends. All of that in this episode. My name is Bob Emser. I'm a sculptor and a boat builder. I love everything about wooden boats. It's a joy to meet interesting people and fellow boat builders. I love exploring the history and learning about wooden boats, as well as sailing with friends and visiting interesting ports of call. Welcome to my adventures in wooden boats. The Wooden Boat Show was located at the Mystic Seaport. It had a great collection of boats, builders, and vendors. What first caught my eye is what appeared to be a Gill Smith catboat by Artisan Boatworks. Given my love for Gill Smith boats, I had a nice chat with Alec Brainerd, the president of Artisan Boatworks. So tell me a little bit about this boat that you guys are working on.
This is a replica or a recreation of an 1890s Great South Bay catboat that was designed by Gill Smith.
So I know that Gill Smith boats didn't necessarily have plans that you could get. So tell me a little bit how you guys came about the plans for it.
Yeah, good question. So we knew we wanted this client, this is a commission for a client, wanted a Gill Smith catboat, and we wanted to build one that hadn't been recreated before.
Okay.
So that was an important part, was to undertake this process from scratch.
Yeah.
And so that discovery process is a big part of it. We spent a lot of time on Long Island looking at existing boats and doing research and talking to people. And we came across an article from the Rudder magazine from the 1890s about a boat called Miriam that Gill Smith designed and built for himself and named after his wife, Miriam. And that boat was supposed to beat all the other boats that he had designed and built up until that point. And so and then he sold the boat before he had a chance to race it, and it sort of went away and disappeared from history. So we thought we should recreate Miriam. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And he did not draw plans for his boats, but he did carve builders' half models. And so at the Suffolk Historical Society is a original Gill Smith model for Miriam, which looks exactly like this. And this is one that we created. But the process is to laser scan the model, which digitizes it in a very accurate way, and then using CAD technology, blow the boat up to full size, and then create mylars and laminate the frames.
So I know some Gill Smith boats have been, scaled down because of the scale that they were. So this is the actual scale that this boat was.
Yep. Our goal with this boat was to build her exactly like the original Miriam, as far as the look and the feel and the sizes and the shapes of everything, but to incorporate epoxy technology to the fullest extent we could, without deviating from the look and feel of the original boat.
So this original boat would have been carvel plank?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And so this is not?
No. Nope, so these are laminated fir frames, and then the planking is tongue and groove cedar glued with epoxy, and then sheathed on the outside with a layer of 17-ounce biaxial cloth and epoxy. So very strong, very stable, wood epoxy construction.
Yeah. You can even take it in and out of the water.
Exactly. And that's part of the plan with this boat, that it will spend a lot of its life on a trailer and go to visit other harbors and attend regattas and boat shows and things like that.
So tell me a little bit about your organization.
Yep. So Artisan Boatworks was founded by me in 2002, and it started out just me and another carpenter or two building one boat at a time, or restoring boats, and then storing and maintaining those boats in the off season for those clients became an important offering. Yeah. And over the last 15 years, it's grown to a company we're at about 14 employees, and we have about 75 wooden boats that we store and maintain. And so now it's about half maintenance, half new construction.
And about how many boats do you have going at one time?
There's usually 2 new boats, or either restorations or new boats. And they're all entirely custom commissioned, so we rarely build the same boat twice. Always a lot to learn.
So tell me, is it going to have a bright finish deck, or are you decided all that?
Yeah, Gill Smith boats typically had a sprung plank deck that was varnished, and most of the trim was cherry. There's a lot of cherry that grows on Long Island, so it's kind of a distinctive detail.
Okay.
So this boat will have a varnished cedar deck and an elliptical cherry.
Well, it's pretty exciting stuff.
I was really excited when I walked in. I immediately knew it was Will Smith.
Yeah, they're distinctive.
I think I mentioned that's where I started my process.
Right.
Well, you know, also.
On Friday, I reconnected with Steve and Alec from Acorn to Arabella. They reassured me about some questions I had about steam bending the frames.
See what's going to happen, and they're about this size.
That is pretty close. So, you know, a little bit bigger.
This is going to, it's just going to do that.
Oh, so it will actually lose its.
So I think if you clamp this tight,
there,
because we put more twist than that in our 2.5-inch square frames.
I later caught the talk Alec and Steve gave at the wooden boat booth about their bronze floor brackets.
Structural, be nearly as structurally sound as welding them. And bronze on boats, it's often brazed because it's often for things that aren't as structural. So typically people would cast it or they would braze it. And I think a lot of that is just honestly misinformation about welding bronze. When we first started talking about it, the amount of people who were like, you can't weld bronze, you can only braze bronze. Well, that's what we thought as well. And then we met this guy, Bob Emser, who actually is a bronze sculptor. And when we started talking with him, he's like, no, just pick up a MIG welder, some wire, and some argon, and you're good to go. It welds beautifully. But the tools for really working it, if you're not doing the welding, are pretty simple. You know, a bandsaw, angle grinder, some files. It drills pretty easily.
Big long lengths, and then we cut those off, knowing what we were going to do.
Speaking of metal, I found Med Chandler of Shipkoi Voyage, who I follow on Instagram. Given my passion for making shipwright tools, we had a great chat about his blacksmithing.
How you got into blacksmithing?
So in the town where I grew up in New Hampshire, there was a 1740s living history museum, and I volunteered there all through school, through some school programs, and they had a blacksmith shop on site, and I took an interest and just started kind of messing around and learning, and then I took it a little more seriously and kind of became a shop smith there at the port and doing demonstrations. And then from that point, I took off and did some sailing on tall ships.
Oh,
and,
cool.
That's kind of what got me into the ship
led
world.
you to the shipbuilding, shipwrighting line?
Yeah, and being with the guys, the professional caulkers and shipwrights, and doing the work also, like you kind of understand how a tool wants to respond, and what you can make a good looking tool, but it also has to function well.
Yeah.
So there's kind of two aspects to that. Like so it's a spring steel that's very tough. So it's really ideal for the application of caulking irons because it's very rugged steel.
Does it? So does it come round then?
I'm getting this in round bar, and then I'll cut it depending on the size of the irons. I'll cut them to the right length blanks and start my process of forging them. So the forging process isn't. I'm not melting anything like liquid. I'm actually compressing and changing the shape.
What the groove in there is for?
Yeah, so that's the crease is what that's called, and the groove.
Zoom in close on this camera. On his hand.
Let me find a bigger one. So the groove in there is kind of helps to seat the cotton, or seat the caulking in the seam. So it gives a little more pressure on the outside to just make sure it's seated right. And so typically I don't crease or I don't groove the thinner irons. It's just the thicker ones, 1/8 inch and bigger that I put a crease in.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Individually, and you can order a set of 5 or more, however many. In the variations that I make, there's probably about 30 different styles that I could make.
Oh, okay.
And even on top of that, I can customize. My process is very flexible, so it's not locked into any one size. I usually run them in batches, so I don't just do one at a time.
Right.
But yeah.
Very good. Yeah. And so you have a website.
Yeah, I have a website that you can go on. You can just call me up. Website shipscoreforge.com.
Right.
And yeah,
Cool.
it's just a one-man shop, so I'll be the guy that answers the phone. And
That's the best
yeah.
kind, right? Yeah. Yeah. So cool. Well, thanks. We appreciate it.
After talking with Meg, I headed over to an area called I Built It Myself, where amateur builders display their finished boats. I was particularly interested in a boat built by J. Atwood and Ed Wortham. The Some Sound 12.5 is the same boat as my Haven 12.5, except that it is lapstake planked instead of carvel planked.
So you bought the plans.
We bought the plans. My friend actually decided, my boat building partner, picked out the boat, and I said, looks cool, looks easy.
Uh-huh.
It turned out to be that way.
No. Right. So you come from what kind of a background?
I'm a furniture maker during the day, so it wasn't that big of a stretch, but that would be it.
Certain aspects of it.
Certain aspects, yeah, I thought I could bring my woodworking expertise to it.
Sure. Yeah.
Inside, you can't.
Jay told me that it took 8 years, almost to the day, to build. He found the most challenging part to be fitting the combing around the cockpit. As I had mentioned, the main difference between the Some Sound and the Haven is the hull construction. Lapstake is inherently strong with the lapped planks, so therefore there isn't a need for frames. The Some Sound's planks are scarfed plywood.
Oh, sure. That's a beautiful boat.
You were a ways away.
You should be very
I
proud
was a
of it.
quarter mile with that.
Well, after a fantastic weekend, it was time to start packing up and heading out until next year.
Well, it was a tremendous weekend at the boat show. Had a fantastic time. One of the things I wanted to do while I was out here on the East Coast was to source some Atlantic white cedar for the hull of the boat. Where I come from, about all you can get is Western red cedar. So I was hoping to make a connection and find some out here. So I'm headed up to Kingston, Rhode Island this morning, where there's a Liberty cedar. And from what I understand, they have some white cedar available. So I'm going to see if they have the right size and thickness, and if so, get my cedar for the boat.
Upon arrival, I was met by Kurt and Kenny. As luck would have it, they had a little more rough-sawn clear Atlantic white cedar than I needed. So I bought all of the 1x6s they had, plus a couple of 1x8s for the garboard plank. We had to cut a few of them to fit in the trailer, but no worries, I was going to have to scarf them anyway. So I got loaded up, and I headed west for home.
Well, that's it for all the cedar. Boy, does it smell good in here. So the next thing is I need to get the boat frame out of the trailer, and then we can get back to building a boat. Of course, the next thing we need to do is to build a steam box and mill out some oak and start steam bending some frames for the boat. I want to thank all the new subscribers from the past week, and really enjoyed meeting a lot of you at the boat show last weekend. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, and don't forget to click that little bell so you get notified when a new video comes out. So as always, thanks for watching.